Welcome to the AA Sports Podcast, minor league feel with major league discussion. Here are your hosts, Alan and Alan.
What is up, everybody, and welcome to episode 27 of the AA Sports Podcast. We are your hosts, Alan and Alan.
What's going on, everyone? Everyone staying cool out there?
Yeah, lucky for us, it rained right before we started recording because it was like 101 degrees out here before the rain came through.
Yeah, but how is everyone enjoying that?
How are you enjoying the MLB season? Woo.
Finally, it was nice, especially Friday, to see a bunch of games, and then Saturday, it's like, oh, it's back.
Exactly, man. So let's get into it.
Yeah, let's get right into it with this pretty much scary situation,
right? So
in Miami,
exactly. So this is a real world scenario, and this wasn't expected to happen, but it could easily have happened, and now it has. So what's going on?
So pretty much, players start feeling sick, I think, Saturday after the game against Miami and the Phillies and Pennsylvania. They played through it, and then when I guess they got the test back come Monday morning, now it's even more, but the initial test yesterday was 14 players and coaches tested positive.
I think that number rose some. It's 17 now.
Four more came in today.
Yeah, so my question is, back when the pandemic started, they said it took 2 weeks before you started getting symptoms.
Yeah.
So does this could be even deeper than what we're seeing now?
Yeah, because they started, they thought about, of course, the Phillies. So
right.
Then the Phillies, of course, Miami and Orioles postponed because Miami never left Philly. Because I guess they got all this information after the game Sunday.
Okay.
So they stayed in Philly. They're in quarantine. So Orioles didn't travel. So Philly was supposed to play Yankees. That's postponed.
Right. And now the Marlins games have been postponed until Monday at the earliest. But even with that, if we're talking about 14 to 18 players who have COVID right now, how many people are you going to bring up from the taxi squad, and what's that going to look like? It's going to be ridiculous. Plus, are they going to make up these games?
They said they're going to try to because they also switched around the schedule a little bit for Yankees and Orioles. So now they're going to face each other earlier than they were supposed to because Yankees and Phillies were supposed to do a 2-2. They're on hold until Friday. The Phillies are. And then they started checking into a little bit of the Braves because Braves were one of the exhibition games for Miami before the season kicked off.
Exactly. Yes, and like we said, those expedition games are going right up until the season started.
So it's a very just situation. And of course, not really, NBA, MLS, hockey it's not really paying attention to the MLB situation because they're in their own little bubbles.
Exactly.
Well, NFL, I bet, is watching really close to see how they handle this because, of course, just like MLB, they're not going to be hitting in no bubble, so they're going to be traveling.
Right. And at the same time, the players in NFL are already taking repercussions. The Patriots have already had 6 players opt out this season.
Yeah, well, with the NFL, they have till Monday to decide to opt out or not.
Exactly. And also, with regards to the Marlins, David Price came out and had something to say on Twitter about this situation.
Yeah, we all know he opted out, and of course, he's very vocal in his opinion. So he went on Twitter. He said, now you really get to see if MLB is going to be put players' health first.
Exactly.
Remember, Manfred said players' health was paramount. Part of the reason I'm home right now is because players' health wasn't being put first. I can see that hasn't changed.
And I have to agree with David right now because based on what I'm seeing, there should be a big hole. I mean, this is big. Half of your team has tested positive.
Yes.
Now, what happens? Yeah. What happens if another team is the same situation? What are we gonna do? We're gonna just drop the Marlins for the season?
We're putting a pause on, or you're just gonna have to play your AAA players and put something on the field.
And that's not even competitive. I mean, when you think about it, if you have half your squad as minor leaguers, that's not great. I mean, that's not a great way to move forward. You can't be competitive that way, especially when a lot of these guys haven't had much time up in the big leagues.
Yeah.
It's
a weird situation because this is the guideline because we don't know what the guidelines are. Andrew McCutcheon said they had to find out through the media because media finds out first before MLB tells the players. So now you're like, you just found out the team you played had 14 players and coaches tested positive.
Exactly.
And you're like, oh, shit.
And everybody's touching the ball. Everybody's kind of close. You never know. I mean, it's just ridiculous. Which brings us to another thing, the Nationals, right?
Yes. Nationals was supposed to travel this weekend to play the Miami, and they voted, and they are not going to play in Miami this weekend.
Exactly. So this could be the new norm. What happens if every team decides they don't want to go here, they don't want to do this? Well, we might be in a pickle. And as a result of this, my thought process is that if the teams do miss some time, like the Marlins seem to be doing, and they can't make up these games, what is the MLB going to do regarding the playoffs if every team doesn't play the same amount of games? Now, one thought that I had is they were going to do it by win percentage. I think they did this in a prior year. I don't know if it was in the early 90s or maybe around the strike or something. I think they had to do this at one time or another, but that could be a possibility. What do you think?
Yeah. It depends, especially like if Miami's in the playoff race, then they might have to say, okay, you're going to have to figure out and replay these games. If they're way out of it, they might just like, okay, there's no point.
But see, so now...
But then you got to think about Orioles. They might be in it. So then you got to figure out, then they're going to have to play. It just depends on the both teams.
And this might not be the only scenario this happens. But my biggest thing is, even if, let's say the Marlins, they miss this time now and they do make a playoff run somehow. Well, how are you going to justify saying, oh, well, you guys have to play an extra 5 or 6 games to catch up to make sure you're okay to get in the playoffs? That doesn't seem like it's going to go over too well, especially since they're not going to have a real break as the other teams might be well rested going into a playoff.
Well, luckily, if this wasn't a series, which I forgot to look it up, if this was like a home and home.
Okay.
Because, like, for example, like Mets are at Red Sox last night and tonight, and then they go to New York to play 2 games. I think same thing is technically with Nationals and Blue Jays, even though Blue Jays are not traveling because they don't have a home, so they'll be the home team for the next 2 games in Washington against Washington. So there's a plan where Miami, if they have enough players, might go to Washington this weekend and be the home team.
Right, but that's fine. And my other concern,
it's I don't know what MLB's doing. I hope they're planning something.
Well, the Marlins are supposed to play the Orioles, right?
Yes.
Well, I think this is the only time they're playing the Orioles.
Nah, they're pretty sure they're supposed to play at home too. I don't know.
Okay, well, I thought I heard something about that. But either way, this is going to be an issue that MLB needs to tackle now before it gets worse. If this happens to a couple of teams and everybody's just sitting around in limbo because they can't play the teams they're scheduled to play, now you got guys who are resting too much. You got guys who aren't resting enough. You got teams that aren't playing enough games. There's a unlimited amount of issues that can arise with this.
Yes, it's a big issue, and we all knew Florida's been a hot spot.
Absolutely.
So it's like, okay, what happened? And then, like,
well, did they not test them before they came out to play the games in the first place?
That's
my question. That's my question, because how do you guys not catch this? 14?
Okay, so yeah, they were supposed to do the home and home as well. So the last 2 games, last night and tonight, was supposed to be in Miami, and then they're supposed to come to Baltimore the next 2.
Okay.
So they've postponed that and switched it to the Yankees.
So that's what I'm saying. They were supposed to go back-to-back, right?
So pretty much they opened up spots if Miami is available in August for Yankees.
Okay.
So that could be a possibility where they might have to. So, yeah, looks like it was supposed to be these 2 games. So,
well, all I'm saying is something like this that could derail a whole team, especially in a short season where you're playing almost back-to-back games, no rest. If you miss a week or 2, that's like 14 games. That's half the season. That's a quarter of the season.
Yeah.
So this is my concern, is that this might not go over too well. I don't know.
No. Like, everyone is like, here it is. Here's the test. And then is like, is there going to be a pause? It's like, it's the big question, because baseball said there's no emergency yet. They worked it out. But, so, yeah, they're supposed to play the Orioles in the 4 games and then go to Nationals. But even the national game is, of course, they're postponed through the weekend. So now means Nationals have it off?
Exactly. So, obviously, the more we get, the more you'll know. Just stick with us, and we'll try to get this figured out as much as you are. I can't imagine what the MLB's thinking right now.
Yeah, because they're probably like, we need to get this ASAP
under control for sure.
Because no one else is having problems. Of course, they're mostly all in bubbles. Football is now starting training camp. You're starting to get the few tests out from rookies and showing up like, okay, we had like 24 or something positives. Like, okay, but now when everyone gets there, like, it's interesting.
Oh, exactly, yeah. So, now that this has happened to almost a whole team, think about it. They really have to crack down on the high fives and on the celebrations.
They're still happening.
Exactly.
Yeah, so right now in Washington's schedule, I just pulled it on their website. They are just postponed to the weekend. So technically, they are off after Thursday when they face the Blue Jays. Wednesday and Thursday, they're off again, not play again until Tuesday against the Mets.
Right. And I mean, so somewhere along the lines, there's going to be teams with unfair advantages because they're getting more time off and they don't have to play teams. But at the other end, they need to make these games up. I don't know. If they don't, then, it's just tough to gauge how the season's going to go.
Yeah, luckily, like Miami and Nationals, they play each other, so they're going to be double headers. But it's the Orioles you're going to have to figure out.
Exactly.
And you're talking about 4 games for the Orioles, and that is tough. You're going to do back-to-back days, and yeah, MLB has to figure out within the next, I would say, couple days to figure out what they're going to do with these schedules.
All right. Well, hopefully the league won't be crumbling right away. We just got started.
Yeah.
So let's move on. Let's
Yeah.
get some other news in here.
Blue Jays.
Last week we discussed that they weren't going to be able to play in Pittsburgh. They definitely aren't playing at home.
Yeah.
So what are they planning on doing, Alan?
So it looked like it was going to be Baltimore, and it came out now they're just settling on Buffalo.
Right,
which
is
we all thought long because it's AAA facility.
It's a AAA facility. However, it is not MLB ready.
No.
They need to fix the lighting quality, especially for broadcasting. I know that they have to get the clubhouse space. They need some space in there.
They have to put in bullpen phones.
Yep.
They got a lot of stuff to do.
Right, in a short period of time. I'm sure they're going to get it done, but lighting isn't an easy task. I wonder if they're going to bring in some portables.
I was assuming, or they're doing they're going to have to put up portables, because if you think about it, you're talking at last minute, putting these fancy lights, it's going to have to be portables.
Unless you give them some day games, which would be weird. I know they're not the Cubs, but I don't know, man.
Yeah, I would think that'd probably be best. So I know they're supposed to be Washington, so their technically home is going to be Washington for the next 2 days after they play, I think, tonight. So technically, they're Nationals, but they're home. And then they're supposed to be home against Philly, so I don't know if that's the game plan or they'll probably be in Philly. There's no word, and who knows about if, Philly's going to play.
Right. Exactly. But, the interesting thing is when they do play in Buffalo, it'd be fun to watch a team play their home games in a AAA stadium.
Yeah.
Because me and Alan, that's where we're used to watching AAA ball. So I think it'd be pretty interesting. Although, if I had to pick a stadium, I think I would have I know this is their stadium, but I would think I would have liked to go with something like in Charlotte or something like that.
Charlotte, yeah. Somewhere that's like always have the
nice scenic views.
The AAA All-Star game was there recently
because it's a nicer stadium.
The Yankees AAA facilities usually either host the AAA All-Star game or they hosted the championship game.
Okay,
so they probably have a better facility. So really, if they get through this weekend with their home games, they don't technically play a home game until August 11th against Miami. So they really got another extra week to get everything figured out, which probably should be plenty of time to get Buffalo ready.
I guess so.
Hopefully.
I guess so. I don't know, man. Well, let's move on. So some brighter news and something crazy, man. The
Big money moves.
Yeah, the Royals have a new part owner.
Yeah. Defending Super Bowl MVP Patrick Mahomes,
who just signed his big contract.
Apparently, he has money already from it, so I'm assuming the signing bonus. So
yeah.
Who knows what percentage it actually is? There's nothing said, but he is done. Let's see. Got drafted, became the starter, got MVP, won the Super Bowl, brought a Whataburger to.
And now he owns part of the Royals, the Kansas City Royals. This is crazy. I mean, we all know that his dad used to play some ball, most notably for the Mets. But it's pretty cool that Mahomes gets a chance to own a professional team while he's in his prime. He's young. He's like 24.
Yeah.
Man, that is nuts. At 24 years old to own a part of a baseball franchise.
Yeah, baseball's, he grew up in the league, in clubhouse. He loved the game, and he played baseball, but he stopped playing to pursue football full time. And it's worked out for him. He's now got the biggest contract.
Look,
and now he's still in baseball as part owner.
Exactly. I love this move. This is a big boy move. He is thinking of the future. He's like, look, I know I'm a star athlete quarterback, but at the same time, I'm a businessman, and I'm going to own part of a franchise. Just think of this. This is great. Great for him.
Yeah, because his contract is not really stated of exactly what he's going to make. It's a percentage because you don't know what the future of NFL money is.
Exactly.
So he can slowly buy more to the team, invest in other projects, but it's just thinking you're year 3 in the NFL, MVP, Super Bowl ring MVP, and
living
now
his best life. Yeah, it's crazy, man.
Crazy. Like when that broke, I was like, wow. He didn't join an A-Rod team. He was like, I'm buying the Orioles. I'm buying part of the Royals. I'm staying home. Exactly. So he's committed to the area. So he signed 10 years. Now he's signed to be the owner. So
very cool.
So it's very cool. So first thing first, this past weekend is like a lot of great games and stuff. Then it's going to start talking about the injuries. And the 3 big ones have been big pitchers.
Well, okay. The biggest one for me is the Marlins team.
Yeah.
I mean, the whole team is under quarantine, basically. But yes, Alan's right. What we've been seeing so far is most of these injuries are coming from pitchers.
Yeah. And it's been, elbow, shoulders, forearms.
Right. And most notably for me was Justin Verlander.
Yeah.
I mean, he grew up. He played his college ball around here at Old Dominion University, and he's out with what, shoulder.
So first it was like he's done for the season, and,
right.
And I'm like, this is a big blow to Houston. Then it came later Sunday, like it's not ruled out for the season. It's been false information. He has a forearm strain,
and they're going to reevaluate it in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, but still, a couple of weeks. You're talking. If you say 3-4 weeks, you're talking a month. You're talking 4 starts, and then that leaves you. If you already did 1 start, you're talking about what, 7 starts, 6 starts, depending if he's ready to go.
Yep, I agree.
And you're talking about Houston. They're one of the top teams out there,
and this is one of your best pitchers.
So now you lost Garrett Cole to free agency. Now you're lost Verlander to a month to who knows what.
Exactly. Do they still have Greinke?
They have. So now Greinke is their ace.
But this team is built around solid pitching with their offense. You take away 2 pitchers, which you have, and you only have left is Greinke. I don't know, man.
So from the group last year, they only have Greinke and McCullers on the roster because Udeli's is injured, a 10-day injured list. So now they have to get these young guys or people unknown to fill in for this Houston team.
Yeah, and I don't think that's going to go over too well. Yes, the offense might help carry you a little bit, but there's only so much they can do if your pitching is not fantastic.
And the biggest is going to be the series they got right now with the Dodgers.
Exactly. That'll tell us all we need to know.
Because this will be the test, like, okay, look, this is that early test. Let's see what both these teams can do. And now with Houston without their star pitcher, it's like,
Well, we'll really see how they can do without their pitchers. But if I had to guess, I'm going to say Houston's going to dip a little right now.
Yeah, and this is where, like, a team can strive. Like, if you think about in that division, the A's or the Angels, it's like, this is our time to try to separate us maybe before Verlander gets back.
Yeah, and from what I saw over this weekend, the A's games, they were looking pretty solid. They were out there swinging.
Yes.
Man, they were swinging. Chapman was out there crushing it. Who else? I don't know, man. I liked it.
And then in the same division, we have another star pitcher, Corey Kluber for the Rangers, left after just 1 inning in his Texas debut.
That's nuts, man. Kluber is a big arm to lose.
And the tightness in his back and in his right shoulder is what was stated. So, man,
Is he out for the year?
Pretty much, it's a huge loss. They said it most likely would be majority
significant
of the year.
amount of time. Okay. Yeah, I got it.
So it's like no way to sugarcoat it. They don't. It's all time. And then for Toronto, everyone's looking better with their pitching. And then Ken Giles, he's having some elbow discomfort.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing else to say. I mean, we said the same thing last year on our injury report. There were pitchers out, and same thing this time. There's pitchers out.
Yeah, so you talk about a very good relief pitcher for Toronto, and then 2-star, pretty much their aces of both those Texas and Houston are missing significant time, most likely.
Yeah, that's too bad for them. Like I said, this is a good opportunity for these young arms to show what they got because their opportunity is coming. It's knocking on the door. It's time for them to answer to see if they can show up.
Yeah, like with Marcus Stroman with the Mets, he missed time, and our rookie David Peterson, first-round pick in 2017, got the start tonight, and so far was doing well before we recorded this.
Exactly.
It's time to step up, make people notice you.
Yep, I agree, 100.
So speaking of with everything going in, the extra inning reaction, we've got the first one, the first slate, not the first night, but Friday night, we had our first taste of this extra inning rule, and we've seen a couple other this weekend. What do we think about this?
All right, well, first of all, the Mets didn't do too well with this. we went to extra innings in a game that we should have won, and they took advantage. But my thing is that, yes, I think in another game, somebody was like sack bunted over and then sack fly to win the game or something like that.
The Royals.
And Mike Clevenger was like, this is the wackest shit I've ever seen. And it's fine.
Because technically, they didn't even have a hit or a scored run because they were sacrifices.
Right. So for right now, to answer your question, Alan, I still need more of a sample size. As of right now, though, I don't like it. It's not baseball. They didn't earn this win. Except, like you said, there wasn't even a hit and you won the game. It kind of reminds me of like football when the first team that scores wins, but the other team, they get a chance. I like the fact that the other team gets a chance now.
Yeah, if they don't score a touchdown.
Exactly. But in this scenario for baseball, I'm not a huge fan. I still need more of a sample size to make a real answer on this. But as of right now, I don't like it.
Yeah, because, with the Mets game, they got a hit and they scored. First at bat.
Right, and then after that, they can't recover. There's just so much going on.
And then, but the one thing the rule was in for, it has done the job.
It has.
It literally, next inning, it's been over.
Exactly.
Every single game has gone to. So it is that. That's what they want to do. They want long games. So it is doing that.
Right.
But it is like where I liked what the Mets said, like watching that game was it's more on the visiting team to hack at the ball. Because if you score one run, now it's on the home team to try to match you and play small ball to maybe sacrifice, get one over, and then try at least tie the game to go into another inning.
Right. And like I said, we're in a 60-game season. It's a sprint. We don't have time to see 19-inning games. I get it. I agree with Alan. It does the job. They wanted to end the games quicker, so we're not here all night and day because we can't give up that many arms to pitch. We need them to pitch the next day. So, yes, it is accomplishing its goal. It is making more action happen in the extra innings. But as of right now, I'm just not a fan. I just think I need more time to see if it's actually good or not.
Yeah, because, I think we had like less than 5 games that went to extra innings. So it's a small sample size, but as seeing it, it's like, okay, well, it did its job, but I don't know if I like this.
Yeah.
It's whoever previous got out gets on second.
Exactly.
So it's like, how do you score this if you're doing scorecards? Like,
well, the thing I did like is that once a guy on second base does score, I think it counts as an unearned run, and then anybody after that is earned. So that's good for the pitchers because they're not getting penalized for this, for at least the first run. But at the same time, I'm still on the fence.
Yeah, like Mets gave up 3, but then they get 1 back because it is same thing. They got someone on second, but it was a lot. I think if you only give up 1, it's manageable. But if you give up more than that, it's even a more hard contest. So it's interesting. Like we said, we'll see the next week or two what more games go to extras, how they go. But it's very interesting to watch this.
Yeah. So like I said, I just got to see some more. We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
All right. So let's move on. The next thing we got to talk about is the new DH rule. What do we think about this, Alan?
Well, the first real game that actually had effect to it was the Mets game against the Braves Friday, with Cespedes would not have been in the lineup.
Exactly.
Hit his first home runs in 2 years.
His first home run since 2018.
And end up being the notch to win the game for the Mets.
Yeah. So, the DH rule so far, like you said, the first time we got to see it really be effective was in the Braves-Mets game. So it's National League versus National League. And we had Cespedes come up, and he hit the first National League versus National League DH home run, which is great. And it's the first home run he's hit since 2018. He's coming off an injury. He's not playing in the field. He's primarily doing the DH role, and I liked it.
Yeah. And then you kind of say the opening night game with Stanton, what have he been playing? He was DH, and he hit a home run the opening night. It's like, because it was in Washington. Yeah. So it's like, yes, they're used to DH, but it was weird for 2 NL teams in an NL park to have a DH, and this is the future.
And I'm telling you what, as much as I like to see a pitcher get up and bat who can rake, I did not miss not seeing a pitcher up there. I like seeing a full lineup from 1 to 9 that could hit, because that 9 guy was getting on. And when he was getting on, if you had Mike Trout or somebody like that batting second to start the lineup, the 9 batters on, now you got guys who can hit them in.
Yeah.
I don't miss the pitcher hitting. I kind of like the DH.
Yeah. And a lot of people think this is going to be here to stay. I think with this little sample size, we're going to love it, and I think more people are definitely going to be up for it, and we're going to see DH here for the rest of our lives.
And like we've been saying on our previous shows that, they're trying to find a way to make the game more action, more things going on like that, and I think the DH is absolutely one way you have to go to do that.
Yeah, it's making it more exciting.
Exactly.
You have to worry about sacrificing bunts from the pitcher or okay, quick out, 3 pitches, 4 pitches, let's get this guy going. You're actually facing a guy, and it could be. And people were playing with these lineups because I know the Mets manager has has not had the same lineup since we started. And I think they're playing with who's DHing.
Yeah, they
DH is slowly going back more, forward.
Exactly, and Alan's right because the first night I really liked the lineup. I was like, great. They got Conforto. I think he was batting cleanup or maybe the 5th spot. I was like, that's where he needs to be because he's like one of the most underrated players in my opinion. He's like sneaky, hitting 30 home runs plus 100 RBIs, but not talked about as much because you got guys like Pete Alonso and Jeff McNeil that are doing crazy things on their end. But then the next night, I think he was further down, like 6 or 7. I was like, what is happening here? But like you said, they're experimenting. They're trying to see who's going to fit where and see what we can do from it. And with that DH slot, this changes things because you can have a second cleanup hitter with all the talent you can put in there.
Mm-hmm. And guy that, it's like, why? Okay, like Dom Smith was DH last night.
Yes, came through big.
Most likely would have been the first baseman, gave Alonso the night off usually, but now he gets to be DH.
Yeah, and he DH'd last night, and guess what? He hit a home run. My dad texted me, Dom Bomb. He's like, yeah, he's getting it done.
So it just opens up so much more, and you'll see... And then they're going defensive, a pinch runners because in late innings and stuff like that. So it's going to be interesting to see what this DH does moving forward. But so far, so good. It's giving people options.
I'm thinking it's going to be positive. We're going to see positive things at this.
Definitely much more. All right. So with Thursday being opening night, it was great, seeing everything, the first pitch. But what do you think about that first pitch? And then I felt like that national anthem was 2 minutes tops, the way how quick that thing was. I'm like, what is going on? Like, I even think I saw some of the players on the field kind of looking around like, what is going on? Because it wasn't in like you usual think. Like, it was like quick.
Maybe I missed this. Was this a live sung national anthem?
Well, I think it was recorded.
Okay, well, I must have saw the next night because they had a guy out there singing the national anthem. He was all soulful and stuff, so I must have missed the first one.
Yeah, or maybe it was live, but I didn't see no one on the field. They didn't show them.
Okay, yeah, I did see a lot of people. They were showing the guys standing around there or kneeling or whatever they were going to do at the time. But that's fine. I get it. Whatever. It's opening night. If they wanted to have a fast anthem, that's fine because I know they were playing 2 anthems, and I know they only have so much time, and it was on ESPN. But the first pitch was something else, man. It reminded me of when 50 Cent threw a pitch out for the Mets. Fosse, like he just a little bit outside, just a bit outside. But what's crazy about the first pitch is that Fosse got a Topps card out of that, and it's the fastest selling card.
Most selling card, 50,000 is going to be printed because that means people ordered that thing.
Crazy, huh?
It is. You would never think that of him, a CDC for Washington being the first pitch of the opening night. And 50,000 people bought this card.
Exactly. And I think on the back of the card, they should have a picture of him sitting in the stands with his face mask down, sitting next to people, not social distancing. But even Fosse came out and in wake of the Marlins having this many tests positive, he was saying this is not good for baseball, and he thinks it might need to stop.
Yeah, so he's definitely interesting. And then, of course, he was probably a little sad to find out Soto right before the game had the COVID-19 and couldn't play. But recently, apparently today, said he has a second negative. So he's just waiting to be cleared to play. So he might be able to play tomorrow against Blue Jays. Or if they do have that long stretch, then he'll probably most likely make his season debut against the Mets next week.
Yep. Okay.
So speaking of, let's go into some recaps. Like, this is something different for us.
Yeah, so let's get into the National League East and the AL East game recaps.
Since, they've kind of played each other and stuff. So
we haven't been able to recap anything since spring training. 1.0, basically.
Yeah, except for little exhibition games, but it really wasn't nothing special. It was kind of just tune-ups. But
so the first one that's, that comes to mind is the first game of the season. The Nats and the Yankees. Yeah. And this one sticks out to me, not because it's the first game of the season, but because Scherzer got rocked.
Yes. Very quick, which I said this, we said it, like, why didn't you give Strasburg the ball? He was your MVP last year in the World Series. Like, it is
exactly
that opportunity for them.
And we saw the way that Scherzer was playing, the last summer camp game, and we're like, I don't know, man. I would start. We both said we would have started Strasburg that night. Not saying it would have made a big difference, but Scherzer got rocked, and he normally does not get rocked like that.
Yeah, and unfortunately, it was called into the top of the 6th because of the rain. But Stanton took one deep in a cheap seats.
Yeah, Stanton. So it's funny because, when I see Stanton and I think of Stanton, I think this huge built guy. But he lost a little bit of that over this past since he's been gone. He's come back. He's a little bit more slim, but he's still athletic. And I was questioning it until he hit that bomb on opening night. He absolutely hit a no doubter. See you later kind of hit.
Pretty much close to center field, the cheap standing seats right there by the restaurant.
Yeah, and I think he got his groove back.
Yeah.
I think Giancarlo Stanton's going to be worth that $300 million that they paid him a couple years back.
And then 2 days later when they played the second game, he did it again. He hit another home run.
Exactly. So I'm liking what I'm seeing from Stanton.
So, yeah. So, and then with that game, and then with Washington and the Yankees, I think the biggest thing for me was that Sunday game, Doolittle and the bullpen gave up their first loss, which was up and down last year for Washington, and then they did it again. So with Yankees taking 2 out of 3 in D.C.
Which, if you guys don't know, from what I understand, each game won is equivalent to winning about 2.7 games in a regular season. So each game you win is about 3 games.
Yeah.
So if they took 2 out of 3, they basically won 6 out of 9 games against the Nationals, if you think about it like that.
Yeah. And then currently, the last 2 nights, they've lost to the Blue Jays.
Yes.
So now they are 1-4 to start the season.
Yes. I mean, it's still early, but as I was telling Alan, each of these games counts so much. You can't afford to do that. And it brings me back to the Mets game when we played the extra innings with the Braves and we lost.
Yeah.
I was like, we can't lose games that close because those games are really going to mean something later down the road.
Especially the Braves, how good they are, 2-time defending division champions.
Right.
Like, we know they're good. We have to win those games.
And we caught the Braves while Acuna was having a minor slump.
Yeah.
To start the season.
So, and then, of course, I'm not going to discuss that Sunday night massacre. We already know what happened to that game. So, and then another thing that actually was the next day is the Tampa Bay Rays played the Braves, and I feel like the Braves left their mojo in New York because the Rays combined with their pitchers pitched 19 strikeouts against the Braves.
Wow. Yeah, but like you said, I mean, we both think highly of both those teams, actually. But if any team were to do it, I'm not surprised it was the Rays.
Yeah, that pitching lineup with a bullpen through the starter. Glasnow, I think, what he had, like, some ridiculous amount of strikeouts through 4 innings. It was crazy. I'm like, wow, like this pitching, and then they completely did it. So, and then the biggest shocker I think of the weekend is Miami taking 2 out of 3 in Philly.
Exactly. I mean, granted they brought COVID with them. Maybe that helped them win, but they sure did beat up on Philly. I mean, I expect Philly to be good, but like we said, any team can do it this year.
Yeah, and to start it, and then like Orioles took 2 out of 3 in Boston, so they had a winning record. So if you after the beginning, Yankees, Orioles were leading the AL East, and then Miami and Braves were leading the NL East.
Yeah, nuts.
It was. I'm like,
it's still early.
I'm like, wow, it's one series, but I'm like, okay, we'll see what happens. Any other games that caught your eye from those divisions?
No. There's basically the ones we talked about.
Yeah.
I mostly followed the Mets games. I did catch some Nats games and a little bit of here and there. So those are the ones that stuck out to me the most. The ones we covered.
Blue Jays and Rays, they did as well. Close games. But Blue Jays last 2 days took out Nationals, so they're doing better. I think because they took 2 out of the 3 against Tampa Bay. So it's very interesting. One series, now we're like fast paced. Like they would have been traveling right now to Toronto.
Exactly.
But they'll get to sleep tonight and be the home team in Washington tomorrow. All right, next we're going to talk about is the Central Divisions in the National League and the American League. So what games stuck out to you? I know one stuck out to you.
Well, yeah.
For sure.
If we're talking about the one game, I'm saying the Cubs. That one absolutely stuck out to me because I was not expecting this to happen on, at the beginning of the season.
Yeah. We all wondered, like, who was going to step up with the Cubs. Who was going to be that ace because, Lesnar's is older. Yu Darvish is definitely not the same guy.
No,
it's like, who's going to be that guy? And Hendrick was the opening day starter, and he did his stuff.
Absolutely. My man threw a complete game.
On opening day.
Right, got the win. Do we have what was the score in that game?
I think it was 3-0.
Yeah, so my man pitched a complete game shutout. I mean,
and it wasn't against no slump team either. It was the Brewers.
Exactly.
He homed to 3 hits.
That's what I'm talking about. That's how you come out. That's when you come out in mid-season form, opening day.
Yeah, because most pitchers, I think, went 5-6 innings was about peak. Most pitchers went. Some they only did about 2 or 3. Some had, I think, one or two teams had openers because they didn't want to stress their pitching so far. That's why we had the extra pitching with the roster. But Hendrick said, "I got this today, boys."
Yeah, and that's great. Great start for the guy. You couldn't ask for better. I mean, I know that we were hoping DeGrom would do more than he did, but he wasn't
with
feeling
the back
good already.
tightness,
Exactly.
he wanted himself about 80 pitches. So,
and based on what everybody else is doing, I was surprised they let him go. I mean, this is pretty early in the season.
Yeah,
but hey, if you got the stuff and you feel great, go for it.
Like, we want to give the bullpen a day off? Sure, let's go ahead and do this. And Hendrick was just dealing.
Absolutely. Like I said, that was a great start. That's the game that stuck out to me from that division.
Yeah.
Period.
And the other one for me was the Cleveland Indians game on Friday as well with Shane Bieber, 14 strikeouts.
Yeah, well, I told Alan, I was like, hey, you see what Bieber's doing? And he was just trying to these are playing a crap team.
I was like, well, it is the Royals. Well,
hey, speaking of the Royals, they just signed Matt Harvey to a minor league deal.
Oh.
Yeah.
See
They
if
finally
can
made
do
it
that.
happen.
Yeah, Orioles, we all know, is probably going to be one of those bottom teams. They're definitely rebuilding. Pitching, they have some young guys, but pitching is just rough. Like with Bieber, what he went 6 innings, I think he did for that game. Yeah, 6 innings, 4 hits, and 14 strikeouts. So he handled it. So those two, we were wondering if these two were going to be a runner-up or not.
Yeah.
Especially now with the expansion of the playoffs.
Oh, yeah, exactly. With the expansion of the playoffs, that changes things quite a bit.
Yeah, because now it's like you're really looking at the top 2 teams from each division. Like, you're okay, if we're 1 or 2, we're guaranteed a playoff spot. And then after that, it's like we just got to make sure we have a better record than anyone.
Exactly.
So now Cleveland's like where if they start doing better and better, it's like, and remember, with end of August is the trade deadline. So people.
That's coming up quick.
We're talking about we're at the end of July now. Friday's the 31st. So
Yep.
you get a month to figure out what team you're going to be these next 3-4 weeks. Are you sellers, buyers? Especially, I think a lot of teams, you have to be pretty much very down to be selling players if you don't think you can make it with 8 teams now available
Exactly.
to make the playoffs.
And those teams that are that bad off, they're not going to be in the market to sell off players unless you're getting a lot in return.
No.
And we're talking about pretty big prospects for somebody because the other team obviously thinks that one person will make a difference in their playoff run.
Yeah.
I just don't see it. I don't know. It's going to be interesting. I'm not going to make any decisions right now.
I think in the next, we'll say 2 weeks, we'll start seeing more of a separation. Like, okay, what team could sell something to get better for the future and help someone else in the short term?
Exactly.
And I'm pretty sure what you would have got for a 1-year rental is going to be garbage compared to what years prior.
Yep.
Because, you got like at least half a season, but you're talking a month.
Couple games, yeah. I mean, you're talking about a playoff run, hopefully.
Yeah, a playoff run,
Right.
but not a top tier prospect, most likely.
Okay.
Unless you got another year extra, like, okay, we got him for the rest of this year and then next year. So we'll see with that. So with the next divisions.
Yeah, so let's talk about the NL and AL West division. Any games stick out to you?
Dodgers did their things, but, Giants didn't, completely crap out like some people thought. But that one was, like you said earlier, the A's and Angels.
Yeah,
the
Angels game stuck out to me. Well, I don't know which one I'm talking about. The one I'm talking about is when Ohtani got the start.
The Sunday game, yes.
So the Sunday game is the one that stuck out to me. This is going to be Ohtani's day. He's going to be a Sunday guy because they get the day off, I think the day before Sunday or the day after Sunday. They get one of those days they get off, so he's only going to miss
mostly
one day. Mostly
Mondays, I think, is the days off. But of course, this Monday wasn't a day off. But I think
right.
the few days they do have off are going to be Mondays.
Because they want to give Ohtani a day before and after he pitches off.
Yeah.
And then other than that, he's going to be in the lineup. So this game stuck out to me because it's his first time pitching since 2018, and he did not do well at all.
Terrible.
He threw he didn't get out of the first inning. He had 0 recorded outs. He got 5 earned runs, 3 hits, and 3 walks. It was a terrible day for Ohtani.
Yeah, when my phone went off, that's what he did because I forgot they were like an afternoon game, and I'm like, that's it. I'm like, are you kidding me? We waited 2 years for this. I'm like, ooh.
Oh, I didn't expect him to go there and pitch lights out.
I figured, 3-4 innings, they probably would have limited it to, but I'm like,
first inning,
quarter
exactly.
out.
Yeah, I'm not concerned yet, but that was a concerning outage. It was
very
pretty
much
terrible.
so.
You got to get out of the first inning. I don't care who you are. I mean, if you're going to be a pitcher, this is what you do. Yes, if you want to be like Babe Ruth and pitch and hit, you got to be able to do both. I think he's going to be okay. I'm not concerned yet. And in that same game, it wasn't a complete waste of time. The Angels at least tried to come within one early, and I saw some good stuff from Trout. Exactly.
Got a green light on 3-0 to hit a bomb.
Well, when you throw 88 down the pipe, what do you expect?
Yeah,
you don't make mistakes.
Big mistake.
Yeah, you don't make mistakes like that to Trout.
Yeah, and with that series, I thought the Friday night game, the first extra inning game, the first time we got the taste of the man on second, you got a taste of it early. Like Angels had an opportunity. They walked Trout to load the bases, and Ohtani got out of the inning. And then bottom of the 10th, A's loaded the bases and did a walk-off grand slam.
Yep.
So
wasn't there also confusion with Ohtani? Like he didn't understand what was going on. I think like he didn't understand what was going on, like when he was on the bag. I don't remember. I don't recall, but there was some kind of confusion with the extra inning rule that Ohtani wasn't understanding.
Yeah.
So, maybe it was a language barrier. I'm not sure. But either way,
that was definitely, and then, Houston did well. But like I said, Dodgers, you saw someone different was the star each day they played.
Exactly. That's why the team's great.
And then after this first weekend, after everyone played their first series, there was no undefeated teams. Walking into Sunday, we had 3 undefeated teams, and all 3 of them lost Sunday.
That's the biggest thing that stuck out to me is that there's nobody undefeated after about 4 games.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Like, I remember in years past, like, hey, there's going to be a team that's starting out like 6-0 or something like that, whatever the case may be, but everybody has an L.
Yeah.
That's crazy. And it's just fitting for this kind of a season.
Yeah, it's like Sunday morning, like there's 3 teams left. I was like, okay, and then they all lost Sunday. I'm like, okay, well, there goes that conversation, like who's going to go the longest.
So, so with that being said, it's going to be a crazy season. I can't wait.
Yeah. So, and it's very, like, we can go to the current standings as of right now. Of course, like I said, I think Nationals and Blue Jays just went finals. So, as we sit right now, and so did Tampa Bay and Braves. So, Tampa Bay is leading the AL East at 3-1. Baltimore, of course, is on a pause. Same with Yankees. So, they're both sitting at 2-1 since they've been paused because of the COVID tests and stuff. Toronto has now taken the first 2 from Washington, so they're going to be 3-2. And Boston is sitting at 1-3.
Yeah, man, that division alone is just crazy to me because everybody in there has a chance to be great. I know the Orioles, we don't think highly of them, but at the same time, it's a short season and anything can happen.
Yeah.
That division alone is just good.
And really, I think it was their first opening day. They got smacked around by Boston, and then the next 2 they took.
Exactly. Yeah.
So that, and of course, with all these postponed games, is really confusing. So then in the Central, Cleveland's winning at 3-1. Minnesota is 2-1. Detroit is 3-2,
which is surprising to us.
Kansas City is 2-3, and then White Sox. The shocker is 1-3.
Right, and like you said, the White Sox are 1-3, but this is a team that we think has a real possibility of making a run this year.
Yeah.
And it's crazy. I think the White Sox, I think they were just on TV tonight. One of the teams were, but
yeah.
It was funny because I heard a name called that I haven't seen since he came down here in the minor leagues. Nicky Delmonico. I got his autograph. I remember I was like, "Yay, Nicky!" I was like, "Delmonico." But anyways, he's up there in the big leagues.
Yeah,
interesting.
And then the AL West, we got Houston at 3-1, Oakland at 3-1 tied, and then Texas, Angels, and Seattle only have 1 win each at 1-2,
so
1-3, 1-3.
Out of all the divisions, this one doesn't surprise me. This is exactly how I thought it would be right now.
We thought we're going to fight for the division.
Exactly. But I'm not counting anybody out, except for maybe Seattle. But I'm not counting anybody out of that one.
Yeah. And then the NL East, of course, with Miami and Philly on hold.
Right.
So Miami is technically in division at 2-1, and then Atlanta and Mets are both 2-2. Philly's on hold at 1-2, and then Washington now with the losing streak they're on is 1-4.
Right, and I know it's early. I know it's only been 5 games in here, but you can't start 4 games losing streak.
So
or 4 games losing.
The next 2 games, does Washington need to take these next 2, or say if they lose the next 2? They'll be 1-6.
If Washington
would be panic
starts
mode.
Yes, if Washington starts 1-6, we're talking about 60 games. You're almost playing a sixth of the season right there.
So let's say they lose the next 2 games. They're 1-6. So now that extra time they have off, they can figure stuff out before they face the Mets on Tuesday.
Yes.
Because they have the weekend off most likely because they're supposed to play Miami since Miami's been postponed until playing until Monday. So now Washington has time to most likely get Soto back since he's been 2 negative tests, and now he's going to get cleared from the MLB to play. So maybe with him come back to the lineup, and then most likely it'll be the third person in rotation. It'll probably be Patrick Corbin. Or who knows? Actually, with that many days off, they might go right back to number 1.
They should.
Because I think Scherzer's pitching tomorrow. And Strasburg the next 2.
As long as it's in rotation, like if somebody, like I don't want to throw off their days. So if Scherzer's pitching every 7 days and this doesn't fall on that day, I don't want to move him up any. But at the same time, if you guys if the Nationals keep losing, and let's say they get swept by a team, then you are in very serious danger because now you're going to have to start winning every series you play. You're going to have to at least take the series.
Yeah.
Because you got to play catch up now. If you start the season like 2-10 or 3-10, it's hard to come back.
Yeah, so for example, if the Mets win tonight and the next 2, they would be 5-2, and then Washington would be 1-6. And then think about it. Remember, we're going to be playing through the weekend, so we're going to get even more ahead, and they're going to somehow make up those games. Mm-hmm. And it's going to be the confusion, how much more.
Which is why I say we might be thinking of win percentage. But you're right. If you don't play as many games, then it throws it off. Because we already have a short season. So if you don't play as many games and you're like, oh, well, your win percentage is better, but you played 5 less games, that's not going to make it up. You're going to have to find another way to do this.
Yeah.
Because those 5 games are huge. It's not like, oh, well, you just missed 2 games. No. There's 60 games. So they're going to have to – I don't know what they're going to do. Yeah. I'm actually – intrigued to see what they're going to do.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure after tonight's loss, they're probably like, okay, look, team meeting, because you facing the same team the next 2 days. Luckily, you're not have to travel or you would have been traveling to Toronto or wherever they would have been. And it could have been Baltimore. They could have just drove up 30 minutes, so they would have really done nothing. Yeah. But it's like, look, we have 2 more games to figure this out, and then most likely we have Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday off.
Well, look, as much as I like the Nationals team on paper, I like their young guys. I really like Trey Turner. I like everybody they have on their team, Juan Soto and all them. But when Juan Soto's out, he's sick, and then you lost Rendon, Zimmerman's not coming back. You lost. I'm just saying, like, it's just not the same team. So yes, they won the World Series last year, but at the same time, their team is not the same World Series team. These key players could mean big things for them. So, I don't know if Washington's going to do anything this year, but we'll find out real soon. Real soon.
So, next is the NL Central. So, currently the Cubs have the division lead at 3-1. St. Louis is 2-1. Milwaukee at 2-2. Reds at 1-3, and then Pittsburgh at 1-3. The Reds surprised me. It's still early.
Yeah. I'm not surprised by the Pittsburgh one.
Yeah.
I'm not surprised by any of the other ones either.
Yeah, the top 3, we thought that's about where they would be. We thought Reds could make that run. It's still early. They still can get together and put that run together. Very, very open division. It's always been the last couple of years, too, with that division.
Right. I mean, next week when we get some more games under this, we're going to have a real idea what this picture's looking like.
Yeah. So then the last division is the NL West. Currently, the Padres are leading the division at 3-1.
Yeah.
Rockies at 2-1. Dodgers are 2-2. San Francisco is 2-2. And then Arizona 1-3.
So I know it sounds like, hey, the Dodgers are in third place, they're doing terrible, but at the same time, they're all about 2 or 3 wins. So it's real close. This is a tight one.
Yeah.
Arizona doesn't surprise me a lot, but I do think that they're better than they're looking right now.
Yeah. So Arizona, we thought they were close to wild card last year.
Yeah.
They could make another thing.
They could,
and especially now with the expansion. So now you got to think about it, and probably us Padres are like, look, we can do it now.
Yeah,
we can come in second to the Dodgers and make a run.
Exactly.
So it's be interesting to see what all these teams do. And like quick sample size. You're talking 4 games most likely each, 5 for some who's already ending while we record this. But it's very interesting how tight these numbers are. Like we said. And
yeah, but like Alan said, yes, these numbers are tight. Most of the divisions are pretty close, but the one that is really sticking out to me in Alan is the Nationals.
Yeah.
You guys got to get some wins because this will go by real quick. If you lose a couple more games in a row, we're really talking about next year.
Yeah, because you're talking like another terrible week. You don't get together. Say next week you face, I think, Mets 2 games, and I forgot the other ones, but you split those, and it's like you're still digging yourself out a huge hole. If a lot of these other teams play through the weekend and win their series.
And the only thing that they got going for them, though, is if they do get in a hole, luckily there's an expanded playoffs, and they could still sneak in. They did it last year in the wild card, and they made a hell of a run, if you ask me.
Right, because all you need to do is be the top 8 team.
Exactly.
So if you're not 1 or 2 in your division, you got a best record, at least better than everyone, except unless one more, you have a chance.
Right.
So it's going to be very interesting to watch with that. And then, so this was in one of the groups that I saw because of Friday night's game against the A's and Angels. Someone brought up, like, could there be a Mike Trout rule, as they called it?
Right. And so basically what Alan's referring to is the game that went extra innings. I think they had guys on first and second.
Yeah, first and second, and then Trout was up to bat.
And how many outs were there?
2, I think.
So 2 outs, Mike Trout's up to bat. They don't want to pitch to the guy. They walk him. They walk bases loaded. That way they can get the other out. But I don't think this is just, and Ohtani came up after Trout, so it wasn't like it was some slouch. But I don't know if this is necessarily just a Trout rule, because in any given strategy, if you have 2 outs and you need to get an out and you have an open base and a good player's up, most of the time people are going to go ahead and load the bases. That way you have any bag as an out.
Yeah.
So if it's a dribbler, you throw it to the closest bag.
Yeah.
So it's not necessarily just this scenario, but in general, I think that the rule is that, yes, if Trout's up to bat and in a tough situation, we need to walk the guy. So what do you think about it?
It's interesting. Like the person's on the group, I forgot it. I should have wrote it down, but pretty much his thing that, MLB, not MLB, but NBA and stuff have stars would come in clutch. This is supposed to be your player, your generation player, and pretty much the bat's going to take out his hand. And their idea was to limit walks per game.
Right.
Like, have a limit, like you only can intentionally walk so many players. Like, okay, but it's strategy. Baseball is a strategy. It is some people call it a high IQ sport. And it's
like a chess match.
Yeah. You're not talking about, okay, hit this ball, try best. Like, you got to think about it. Who's on second? Who's on first? Think about it like, okay, look, if we put this on, we have this opportunity.
Right.
Like,
if you put Trout on, Ohtani's up, where is he most likely going to hit it? You can move your guys around to see where they're most likely going to do
it.
It reminds me of NBA, Hack-a-Shack.
Yeah. You think about it. Yes, Trout is the best player on that team. So why would you? Remember, teams walked Barry Bonds
all day long.
Like the bases loaded already, and walked runs in because they'd rather give up 1 run in a walk than giving up a blast.
Exactly. And think about it. When they didn't walk him, he still did major damage. So, this is pure strategy to me. I don't think they need to make a rule over it. That kind of takes away from everything. I think it's just, I don't know.
It's unfortunate that you see one of the greatest players probably ever ultimately get a bat taken out of his hand, because he could have won that game probably, and the Angels could be in a different situation than they are now.
I agree. I completely agree.
It's unfortunate, but it's baseball.
Exactly. If there's a base open, this is what you do. You have the option. I'm going to walk this guy. I'm hoping it was intentional, right? They said to go ahead and take your bag.
Yeah, they told him to walk, yeah.
Yeah, so, I don't have anything against this one.
It's unfortunate.
It is unfortunate,
but
I understand it. As a baseball player and as a guy who follows baseball, this is part of the game.
Yeah. So last thing on our to-do list this week, I guess we're going to do this every week, is Players of the Week.
Players of the Week.
So who do you have for your Player of the Week?
Players.
Need
get some cool intro for their Players of the Week.
Dun, dun, dun.
So I did 2. I got 2 for the NL, 2 for the AL, and I'm doing a position player and a pitcher.
Okay.
So so my National League Pitcher of the Week, you don't have to go too far for this one. I got DeGrom. My man had 5 innings pitched, only got 1 hit against him and 8 Ks.
Yeah.
I like it. That's my pitcher of the week. My National League Player of the Week is 40 years old Nelson Cruz. My man is hitting .500. He's got 3 home runs and 10 RBIs.
You said for the National League?
Oh, is that for National League?
American League, right?
American League. I'm sorry. Is that American League?
Yeah, he plays for the Twins.
Okay. Well, hey, Nelson Cruz, Jacob DeGrom, and then on the other end, I got Shane Bieber.
Okay.
6 innings pitched and 14 Ks. And I guess I don't have a National League because my other guy would have been John Carlo, just because my man came back with a vengeance.
Yeah. So we're going to do one for each league.
Yeah.
For the AL, I do have Nelson Cruz as well.
Yeah,
You're
man.
talking about the .500 batting average, 10 RBIs, 2 home runs, and 4 hits.
40 years old,
for
man.
the Twins, it's like you signed this guy late. You want some more power, and he worked out well for you this weekend. And then my other one has to go to Miguel Rojas for the Miami Marlins.
Yeah.
And his 10 at-bats, batting .700 with 7 hits, with 5 RBIs and 1 home run.
Oh, my God.
Is what gave Miami those wins against Philly.
Dude came out with a heater. I mean, he's already beyond great right now. I mean, this is a small sample size, but what he's done is beyond what I can imagine. Because I thought I would have assumed someone like Acuna Jr. would have done those numbers this weekend.
Yeah, definitely. And then if I think pitching off the top of my head, NL would have to go to Hendricks with a complete game.
Absolutely.
And then AL, I probably would give it maybe to Garrett Cole because we don't know what he would have done because the rain stopped.
Yeah, that's true.
He never got a chance to go after 5 innings. In his 5 innings, he only gave up his one terrible pitch. His one hit he gave up was a home run.
Yeah.
Other than that, he was lights out. And like I said, unfortunately, the rain started at the top of the 6th, and they called the game.
Yep.
So he never got to pitch in the bottom of the 6th. So far, so good with the new players and the new places. So it's an interesting week.
It's going to be more interesting next week because I expect some guys to heat up. We'll see what happens.
They worked, like we said, Lonzo hit his first home run. He was a big slump. Acuna was in a slump the first weekend.
He got out of it against the Mets, unfortunately.
It's like, okay, so now it's like first weekend, we thought maybe the pitchers were behind so far some of the top hitters, but they're starting to flex their muscle. Like Vlad Jr. hit his first home run tonight. It's like they're finally getting a groove. They're getting used to baseball again. And now we're back. And then next week with a full week of games.
Yeah.
A slate, and then minus Miami. And so we'll have to keep an eye on what MLB is going to do with these postponed games next week. If they come up with a plan like, okay, so Orioles, you're going to play doubleheaders these games against Miami. We're going to try to fit you in, or they might just try to postpone it. We don't know what they're going to do.
They got to figure something out because this might not be the last time we're hearing about something like this happening.
Yeah, and then like I said, Washington's going to have this huge break, so that could be benefit for them. So they'll most likely have to do double headers against Miami, either at home or at Miami down the road. So it's very interesting to see what the league is going to do. So, yeah. So we'll see y'all next week with more news. We'll catch y'all next time.
All right, guys.